city, with all of its starting, stopping, honking, unpredictable vehicles. As they say, the city is where it all gets together. And these days, the city traffic mix includes a lot of motorcycles. If you thought that residential areas and light traffic areas were tricky, wait till you ride through that mess. Signs, signals, no left turn, keep right, school zone, do not enter, no U-turn, walk, wait. Yep, it goes on and on. And the best way for any vehicle operator to get along in the city is to understand its special driving or riding requirements, and then add a good dose of patience into the bargain. Now, there's a cyclist who hasn't learned either patience or the city rules, and if you watch him carefully, you'll see that he's about to get suckered into a city traffic trap that's busted more than one bike and rider. He's just encountered a double line of stopped cars and trucks, and he reasons that because his motorcycle will fit into the space between them, there's no good reason in the world that he shouldn't slip right down that tunnel and be on his way while those guys are still sweating out the signal. Well, that's a tempting maneuver, all right. But what are some reasons he shouldn't do it? A, someone may open a door in his face. B, that narrow gap between cars may close. C, he has no maneuvering room there. D, all of those and more. Sure, D, all of those and more. But in this case, an open door was the penalty. Well, tough luck, Ryder. What you ought to do is watch this unit, along with the rest of us. We call it advanced traffic, and it's going to let everyone ride through the city. But also the freeways, where things can move mighty fast. Sometimes. Going to be learning some things about passing and being passed, too. And woven throughout, as always, will be the idea of using your IPDE formula to make good predictions and decisions. Something everyone badly needs out there behind the handlebars. It's a big, wonderful world out there for the bike rider who wants it. Wants it enough, that is, to play it cool, to know his machine and what it can and can't do, to polish his skills, and to use good judgment. It's also a big, dangerous world where lots of things can happen anytime and without much warning, as you've already learned. But no point in spending any more time talking about being a good cyclist when we could be practicing. So remember your helmets, start your engines, turn on your headlights, and let's go. May we have the engine starting checklist, please? All right, shift up through the gears and establish a speed of around 20 miles an hour, while we remind you of a few things the good cyclist understands. First of all, the good cyclist keeps his IPDE mechanism sharp by being able to identify those special clues which he uses to help him predict, decide, and execute. So the good cyclist stores away in his mental computer things like the nature of the road surface, other vehicles. He stays alert at all times, and he expects the unexpected. And because you too are a good cyclist, you too know the rules to ride by, like the 3-12 and adjust, which, as you remember, requires a good 12-second scanning distance up ahead and a following distance of no less than 3 seconds. And, of course, you always use your mirror, over-shoulder checks, and signal before changing your position in traffic, like you're going to do right now. Slow-moving vehicle ahead, and you decide that a lane change is in order. But first, your checks and signal, please. Right, there's an overtaking vehicle there. Happens all the time, particularly in these more complicated traffic areas. So, you wait until he passes you, then make your checks again. And because it's all clear, you signal and smoothly accelerate over into the left third of that other lane. Excellent. Since lane changing is one of the most fundamental and useful maneuvers you'll be making in traffic, let's make another one, this time to the right. But first, your checks, as always, over right shoulder. Better let that guy pass. Check over right shoulder again. All clear, so signal and go. That's the idea. Now let's use that lane change to pass someone. Okay, that vehicle ahead of you is moving somewhat more slowly than you wish to ride, and you'd like to pass him. Obviously, that will require you to accelerate, move into that other left lane, then pull by him with minimum delay, finally returning to this lane after you're safely ahead of him. All right, no passing control signs here, no lane markings that prohibit passing, so you predict that nothing will prevent a safe passing maneuver, and you decide to pass. But first, your checks, please. Mirror, over left shoulder. Okay, go. By smoothly accelerating to passing speed and pulling by with a minimum of delay because you don't want to stay in this lane any longer than necessary. Okay, quick checks again before returning to that right lane. Now signal and go. Now be sure to cancel your signal. Always remember to check for any passing controls or pavement markings that might prohibit the kind of maneuver you just made. Those double yellow lines were put there by the highway department to prohibit passing here because the roadway curves and visibility is limited by the contour of the road surface. And of course, when you see a sign like that, you know that passing is out of the question. One thing about passing, sometimes it happens to you, too. So, be prepared. Nice road, nice day, no traffic up ahead. But because you're the kind of good cyclist we were talking about, your eyes are constantly snapping glances at the many things that affect you. So, when you flick a glance at your mirror, you identify a car that's overtaking you, and you properly predict that he wants to pass. No big problem. You know how to handle it. Check the roadway ahead. Is there anything there, like an oncoming vehicle or a curve, which would cause the passer to make an abrupt move once he's ahead of you? Nope, looks okay. All right, another glance at your mirror tells you that he's decided to execute his passing maneuver, and here he comes. You may decide to slow slightly at this point to help him pass rapidly, and while you don't want to invite him to crowd you by moving over to the right lane position, remember that you have space available over there in case he crowds you anyway. One other thing about cars behind you that we ought to mention. Some of them will tailgate you, like that guy in your mirror right now. Yeah, he's there all right. And if he's seen you check your mirror or turn your head, he knows you know it. Gives you a real feeling of insecurity, doesn't it? And it ought to, because tailgating is a hazardous practice. Especially dangerous to you because of your special vulnerability. What to do? Well, sometimes you can speed up and draw away from a tailgater. But right now, in this situation, we suggest you get out of his way by changing to the best available lane. So make your checks and do it. Well done. One thing you can count on as you ride in your two-wheeled world, not all roads are straight. A lot of them have curves like this one. And before we get you on the freeway to ride to all that city traffic we promised, a moment of comparative calm is in order. But all your two-wheeled tasks take special handling, and that includes negotiating curves like these. So let's take it from the beginning, as they say. Curve ahead, we can see it, and so can our riding buddy up ahead. Now, by scanning way ahead and based on your identification of road geometry, surface conditions, and other traffic, you will establish and maintain your intended track, as long as conditions permit. So, you use body lean and steering as needed to maintain your position in the lane, and around you go. Curve, different direction, but same procedure. Check road conditions, establish your track, steer and lean, and straighten up. Great feeling, isn't it? More straight ahead visibility on this rural road, but we've located you behind a rather slow-moving vehicle, which gives you a decision to make. Going to stop the film to let you make it. Anyone who wants to pass, say pass. Anyone who wants to wait, say wait. All right, the waiters are going to be stuck behind that guy for a little while. But let's let the scene continue for the benefit of those who wanted to pass. Okay, accelerate to passing speed, make your checks, and go when safe. But first, check mirror, check over left shoulder, and go. Comment on that. Made your hands sweat, didn't it? Happens all the time to riders who make the wrong decisions and executions. Country curves like these can hide all kinds of things, and not all of them are fast-moving. Riding this slowly, let's pull over to the side and stop, because it will give us a relaxed chance to talk about the freeways by which you'll be riding to the city. Actually, freeways are many times safer for you than riding through cross streets and intersections, and because they're so important, let's do a bit of freeway trip planning. Say this isn't the world's greatest place to stop, what with that gravel. But mainly we're allowing you to park a bit too close to the edge of the road, don't you agree? So keep your engine idling and move farther from the pavement as we talk about freeways. In order to use the freeways, you have to get on them. And that task is just tricky enough to be shown clearly and in detail. That's a typical freeway interchange, the kind you'll be using in just a minute. Even as you approach the curving on-ramp, you're scanning way ahead to pick your track, as you did on those earlier curves. But in this case, your track is to the inside of the curve, because you'll have room to move if centrifugal force requires it. Then, too, spilled fuel from other vehicles can make the outside track slippery. Now that you're on that straight acceleration lane, A whole new set of circumstances and conditions will affect you. That lane is there to let you adjust your speed by selecting the proper gear for accelerating in order to find, or sometimes create, a space in which to merge with freeway traffic. Traffic will be moving fast on the freeway you're about to enter, so you'll be using this lane to really accelerate. Checks? You bet. Because only by repeated glances can you find what you need to know about the speed and grouping of those freeway vehicles. Now with emerging spots selected way ahead, you'll signal your intentions and accelerate to smoothly join the rest of those vehicles. Once you're on the freeway, your riding task will be to move into the safest available lane. That will probably mean changing lanes to the left and riding in one of the middle lanes. Same lane-changing procedures apply on the freeway as anywhere else. You'll make your checks, signal your intentions, and when safe, you'll make your moves smoothly and promptly. Okay, ready to ride? When clear, pull out onto the roadway and bring your motorcycle up through the gears to a safe speed. And when you've reached it, we'll dissolve the picture to your freeway on-ramp. There's the gently curving on-ramp to your right. So pick your inside track and adjust your speed to conditions. Don't let those bushes bother you. You'll be past them in a moment. Good. And now you're about to enter the acceleration lane. And it's time to start those checks of freeway traffic conditions, so you'll know how to adjust your speed and where to pick your merging spot. Glance left, glance ahead, glance left again, glance ahead. Got your merging spot pick? Glance left again to be sure things out there haven't changed. Glance ahead, and you merge just where you planned. Good. Okay, we're on the freeway, but in the right-hand lane where slower-moving vehicles are found. Also, this is the lane that other vehicles, including that highway patrolman, will use to enter or leave the freeway. So, use your lane-changing procedure and move to the safest available lane. At your discretion. Good job. Notice the highway patrol officer assisting those disabled vehicles parked off the pavement back there? Kind of nice to know that help can be available on these fast-moving, limited-access freeways. Here are a couple of freeway riding tips. On a multi-laned freeway like this, you have many lane position options. But the idea here, as on the streets below, is to dominate your lane. Yep, traffic's moving fast here. And so are we. At 60 miles an hour, you'll cover a mile in only 60 seconds. So it's more important than ever to scan way ahead in order to read any signs that might affect you, and to watch for surface conditions that could be hazardous at this speed. Debris like a piece of scrap lumber or someone's fallen muffler could force you into sudden braking or swerving. And at this speed, that's something you really don't need. But there are some other freeway surface conditions to identify, too. See those grooves we're riding on? Right, they were put there by the highway department to diminish the possibility of skidding. But they'll create a new sensation of noise and vibration, which will require your attention. Lane markings, either painted or marked with slightly raised dots like those, aren't there to be ridden on. While both can be crossed safely when making a lane change, the dots can give a new sense of noise and vibration similar to the grooves. One last tip before we change lanes and get off the freeway for that city riding. Remember how difficult it is for the rest of those vehicle operators to see you? Well, you can help call attention to yourself by pumping your rear wheel brake when you're ready to slow. Why? Makes your brake lights flick on and off. Simple, right? Okay. Because you've been reading all those freeway signs, you know that your 4th Street exit is up ahead. And on the freeway, that means it's time to make your lane change over to the exit lane. Check over right shoulder, and because it's okay to move, you do so, being sure to signal, and cancel the signal after each move. Now we're in the exit lane, and we got here in plenty of time. Last-minute moves on the freeway by daydreaming riders or drivers are just plain inexcusable. Bouncy lane, isn't it? All right, as you know, this exit lane is for slower traffic, so bring your speed down to match and maintain that of other vehicles, and get your head ready to use your 4th Street exit. Scan well ahead to pick up any clues about posted exit speed. And remember that each freeway exit has its own special characteristics, so heads up. Hey, you know something? You've been riding a long time now. So let's pull into that filling station up there on the right past the intersection and buy $1 worth of gas. You know how to handle this situation, so handle it. Okay, gear in neutral, engines off. And before we get involved with city traffic, let's take a break. While you're getting your tank filled, let's watch some other guys ride for a while in the city. Kind of a preview of coming attractions. Suppose you could say that almost everything is more complicated in the city. Take passing. Tricky enough on an empty country road. It takes on complexities here on these streets. The thing is that passing requires so many judgments involving time and space, distances and changing space relationships. And believe us, in the city, they change. Timing is of the essence here. A passing maneuver started a second too soon or a second too late can be dangerous. So you've really got to read the situation carefully. And reading the situation, scanning, traffic surveillance, call it what you will, those things are of the essence in city traffic like this. There are just so many things to watch for, like vehicles that double park, often illegally. A rider doesn't have much choice here. Can't really wait till those truck drivers return, so he's going to have to go around them with care. Take turning. Complicated enough anywhere. In the city, it can be a real hassle. And a good city rider must be fantastically alert to the many things that will influence his predictions, decisions, and executions. Those intersections bring together an almost bewildering assortment of vehicles and people, all of which, or whom, are supposedly controlled by signs, signals, or sometimes by a traffic officer. But the skillful city rider knows that both vehicles and pedestrians have a way of doing the unexpected. And so, he expects it. What it comes down to is selective seeing habits, so that you know what's going on, having skillful responses and making good time-space judgments. And it all has to do with those well-known letters I-P-D-E. And believe us, in the city, there's a lot to identify, much to predict, many decisions to make, and all kinds of executions to be performed. So before you leave the gas station to join city traffic and then return home by way of the freeway and a couple of those rural roads you've come to know, let us remind you of your possible alternatives when you encounter problem situations. When a speed adjustment is necessary, will you make it by accelerating, decelerating, by downshifting? When it's necessary to brake, will you use your rear brake first, both together? And how much brake will you use on the different wheels? How will you be communicating your intentions to others? By electric signal? Hand signal? The experienced cyclist uses both just as often as he safely can. Well, you get the idea. Your identification of traffic clues will help you predict what may happen so that you can decide what to do. And then drawing on the response options we just mentioned, plus any others available to you, you'll execute your maneuvers smoothly and skillfully. Always remembering things like checking your mirrors, checking over shoulders, and signaling before you execute. All right, may we have the engine starting checklist, please? All right, shift into gear and pull ahead slowly to that gas station exit. Then stop, clear the sidewalk, and check both ways for possible pedestrians. Then pull forward and stop, clear the driving portion of the street to make your checks for traffic. That glaring sun doesn't help things, does it? Mirror. Check left, check right, and go when safe, pulling into your left third of the lane. Good work. Through the gears now to the speed you consider safe. All right, maintain this speed as long as you can, but be prepared to slow at any second. Pretty complicated, isn't it? How about that poorly parked truck? Want to go around it? No, better let him go first. Remember your low challenge level. Can't relax for a second, can you? Can't go through that construction zone. So make your checks and go around. Are you signaling? Going to ask you to make the difficult, sometimes dangerous maneuver of turning left up there. Go ahead, it's all yours. Check right. Your good judgment tells you that the best decision in a situation like this is to wait until those oncoming vehicles clear the intersection before completing your left turn. Watch the cable car tracks as you turn. Not bad. Can you believe that? Practically impossible to pick a riding track through all that junk, but still important. And be prepared to adjust both your track and everything else if necessary. Well done. And because we know you can hardly wait to do some more city riding, you're on your own. We're going to ask you to make the difficult maneuver of turning left up there. One-way street up there may be tricky, so stay alert. Good word. Tricky turn. And complicated by a jaywalking pedestrian. Turning from a one-way street into another one-way street is a little city surprise that requires your best IPDE strategies. All right, establish the speed that you think is proper here, but be prepared to adjust it if necessary. You tackled something similar to this situation on a two-way street before, but once again, your best judgments are required, in part because almost anything might appear from around those vehicles parked on the left. Excellent. Trucks parked in loading zones usually allow you the correct prediction that their drivers can appear unexpectedly, like that guy just did. And while you're riding these one-way streets, you might as well execute one of the trickiest riding tasks the city requires. So stand by to change lanes in preparation for a right turn at Bush Street up ahead, at your discretion. Much better than that. Did you signal? Another right turn coming up at Powell Street. And because we're not going to have any mercy on you today, that right turn is going to lead you into a brand new street condition not found in too many cities. So heads up. How about that? A steep hill, and with cable car tracks, too. Did you gear down for more power? Right. Red light up ahead, and you're going to be stopping up there. And when you do, keep your brakes applied to avoid slipping backwards while you're waiting for the light to change.